Come on in, my savvy writers. Welcome to today's Tuesday teaching. My name is Dr. Deborah, and I am the co-founder of the Writers Inkhorn International and the author of the Scribal Watchman. So, on today's teaching, I wanted to share with you something that revolutionized my life. I promised you, it changed my life when I learned about this book by James Clear. Let me begin. I have been wrestling with where to go in the future with various things that I'm doing and new teachings that I'm learning about and how to present it in a different way and what God has created me and who He has created me to be. So as a result of that, I began to engage in listening. My listening prayer journal is what I've done. Every morning I would get up and I would use my guided listening prayer journal, and I would begin to ask God those hard questions, those questions that you may want to know about. And so what He does is sometimes He may not respond. Sometimes you may have to just wait and just watch and listen for Him to give you that answer. But what He did was he brought me to this book called Atomic Habits. And I'm going to share with you here. I don't know what it looks like as far as on Facebook. I know Facebook sometimes will have it backwards, but it's called Atomic Habits. I'm trying to get it in the light. My little light is making it brighter, but it's called Atomic Habits. And I put a link into the description as well. This book changed my life. It was more than just listening to it, which if you like to listen to books, that's fine. I had to buy this book because his messages had so much in it. And I'm just going to share a little bit about it. Because when you're trying to find out who you are and you connect it with what you're supposed to do, then sometimes you may be going on the wrong path, not because it's the wrong thing to do, but it's because you haven't created the proper method to accomplish your goal. Let me explain. As a writing teacher, I run into students all the time, and I teach students all the time, how to go through the process of writing. But sometimes they will steer off course because it's not a priority or for whatever reason, life gets in the way. But when you say you want to write a book and you haven't written that book, and it's a year later, it's 2 years later, it's 3 years later, you say, I'm going to write this book this year, and you still haven't written it, then you may want to reevaluate your system. Your system. Instead of saying, I want to write a book, you want to say, I am a writer. I am a writer. So in James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, he talks about identity, and he talks about the 3 levels of habits. One is the outcome. This is what you get. The second one is the processes. This is what you do. I want to write a book. That is a process. But your identity changes your beliefs. So if you say, I want to be a writer, then you change your beliefs. I want to be an author. Then you change your beliefs. And what you believe is what your habits are based on. So just the small changes can change who you are and the direction in which you want to go. He goes on to say, I promise you, this book is so full of wisdom. He goes on to say, decide who you want to become and then prove it with small wins. Decide who you want to become and then prove it with small wins. If you want to become a savvy writer, then what you want to do is you want to begin to do the small things to accomplish the big objective, which is to become a writer, to become a published author. So you don't say, I'm writing a book. You want to say, I'm a writer. And every day that you sit down to write, you say, I am a writer. I am a writer, because when you're writing, it is a process. But if you say, I am a writer, or I am an author, then you will eventually become who you are. And it's the small things that matter. Because if you say you want to write a book and you still haven't done it, then you may want to evaluate your method. What are you doing that is causing you not to accomplish your goal? Look at your method and then begin to make those small changes. He says it is connected to your identity, and I really, really believe that. Your identity is found in Christ. In Matthew 16, Christ came to his disciples and he said, who do you say I am? And they said to him, well, some say you're this, and some say you're that, and some say this. And he says, but who do you say that I am? And Peter stood up and he said, you are Christ, Jesus, the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And he said, son of Jonah, you are correct. And only the Father revealed this to you. And upon that rock, he shall build his church. Upon that message that Peter released, that Christ is the Messiah, it's the church that is going to be unpenetrable. You're not going to be able to destroy the church. The church upon the rock, the church is built. Peter discovered this, and Jesus identified it by telling him, my Father told you this. So your identity and who you are and how you make those changes in becoming a writer, you will go to God and you will ask him who you are. That's what the Listening Prayer Journal is all about. It's about positioning yourself to be able to discern God's voice at a deeper level. Atomic Habits is how you change yourself once you find out who your identity, who you are, so that you can begin to stay on course and stay focused. So it is really a powerful thing when you begin to know who you are. I knew years ago that God had given me the gift of writing. I knew that words came to me easily. Of course, they needed to be developed. That's where you get the editors. That's where you get the proofreaders in. But as far as writing as a whole, it was a blessing. And when people tried to come against that gift, guess what? God always proved them wrong. And so at the end of the day, no one can run with your vision. When God gives you your identity, when he tells you who you are, people can try to snatch it and run with it, but it's who he created you to be. So you want to write that vision and run with it. And I want to encourage you, get the book, Atomic Habits. It is the best book that I have read yet. Until next time, this is Dr. Deborah, and I'm signing off, and I will see you next Tuesday. Be blessed and keep writing. This is your Kingdom Word Cultivator and your Savvy Sacred Writer. Be blessed.